Meeting on April 5th at 6:30 to order. First order of business, does any of the members of the board have a conflict of interest with the agenda being shown?
No.
No.
No, for me. The next item is minutes. What do we have for minutes, Dave?
The 15th was circulated.
Entertain a motion for.
Motion to approve.
I can second that.
Motion by Ken, second by Mike. Any discussion? Any errors or admissions? Anybody notice? None showing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Next on the agenda is warrants.
Second. All right, they're up on your screen. First warrant is check warrant 31 for $37,233.75.
So moved.
So that was Tony who made the motion?
Yes.
That was a second by Ken.
Yes.
Want to read off the larger ones, Dave?
So the major items were 717, 783, and 1104 at the GA Bove. The usual list of Green Mountain Power. Harold Teal Repair, who worked on a pump on the Cat Grader, replaced it. Sycamore Landscaping, which is the cemetery mowing and cemetery maintenance contract. That's a monthly fee we pay there. The big item this round is US Bank, and that's the payment on the garage, one of the two payments per year. And the last one is William Daly, who is providing all the gravel going into the mud.
Any further discussion?
Dave, what's that Harold Teal Repair? I know you said it's for the grader, but I never heard of it.
I believe, Mike, you just joined us. Can you provide any information on Harold?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Harold's a local mechanic. He's worked for himself quite a while. He's good. He brings his own tools and all his own stuff, and yeah, saves us some money from going to Morse or Caterpillar.
Yeah. Well, that's all right, Mike. I just never heard of it before. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any further discussion on check warrant 31? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
The next warrant is payroll warrant 20 for $22,742.55.
So moved.
So moved by Tony,
Second.
Yes.
second by Ken. Any discussion? All those in favor for approval of check warrant number 20, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. That it on warrants?
Yes, that's it for the warrants.
Okay. Next, we have announcements. I think the first thing is I'm a little bit ashamed. I never introduced Mike Chianowski to the rest of the board or to the public. Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
Mike, you were pretty much born and raised in Bennington, weren't you?
That's right. I grew up in Bennington, graduated from MAU in '94, and was out of the area for a while, but I've been back in Shaftsbury for about 8 years now.
What's the sound?
And I had been on the planning commission for 4 years prior to my recent election.
Well, welcome to the board. And you do live on a dirt road, so you know about all the trials and tribulations we have to go through. So,
I do, yeah.
okay, the next announcement I'd like to make is that make everybody aware that filing your homestead exemption goes with the federal income tax, which this year is in May 17th. You don't have to pay your state income tax to do your homestead exemption. All you have to do is just say you have to file that exemption. I don't know if it's a form you get or what, but there is a misconception that you have to pay your state income tax to get the homestead exemption. That is not true. You can file for the homestead exemption without paying your state income tax. But it is on 5/17, and it helps a lot because come tax season, if you don't have your homestead exemption, it's a lot of work for the treasurer. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is that there was an article in the paper about reclassification of some of the groundwaters that are affected with PFOAs in the banner. If you read the banner article, it pretty much just talked about Bennington and North Bennington, but there are a couple places in Shaftsbury, one of them being Town Line Road and another one being Lamb Road, that are within this new boundary that they're drawing. It does not mean that if you're even outside it or if you're inside it and haven't had your water tested, that does not mean that Seco Bain is getting away with anything. They are still on the hook. So there is a public meeting in Shaftsbury. I don't know when in Bennington. I don't know when it is, but check the banner or check Bennington's website. But a couple places in Shaftsbury are within this newly drawn line that is a reclassification of the groundwater.
There we go.
Does anybody else have any announcements? Okay. We'll move on to public comments. I think there are some people that would like to comment on the road change of the name of changing the Furnace Brook Road. You do not have to comment now. You can, when that item number 8 comes up, you can talk to us at that time. But I welcome anybody else that wants to make some public comments. We will be taking everything under advisement. We will not be debating with you or anything. We just want to understand what you're doing. We will get back to you with a meeting and when we find out what we can do and can't do. I would encourage you to make sure that Dave Kernan has your address or some way we can contact you so that we can get in touch with you when we after we do our research and find out what we can and can't do. So who would like to start?
Heather.
Hi, my name is Heather Bullock, and I'd just like to make a brief statement tonight about the trenching that's going on Grandview Street. My family and I live on Grandview Street in North Bennington in the town of Shaftsbury. I wanted to address the current trenching taking place and respectfully request that the select board reconsider its current plan and seriously consider putting in a proper drainage system and sidewalk for the safety of the children, residents, and family pets who live not only on Grandview Street, but also all of the town of Shaftsbury residents that use Grandview to walk to school, Lake Perrin, Snail Park, and other North Bennington locations. Given that District 1 residents do not live right in Shaftsbury proper, I think it might be easy to forget that we are a residential community, not rural, and would hope that our town government would treat our families and homes with the same respect given to the residential streets in Shaftsbury proper. Those residential streets enjoy low speed limits, safe sidewalks for their children to walk to school and local parks on, and Grandview Street and the surrounding town of Shaftsbury Homes is no less residential than Cleveland Street, Church Street, or East Street, all of which have sidewalks for the safety of their residents. Grandview Street was already dangerous for the numerous pedestrians that utilize it daily. Now, with massive ditches being dug, ripping up the landscaping in front yards that families have worked so hard to make nice, our street has become all the more dangerous. Vehicles speed quickly down Grandview, often forcing children on bicycles or walking to jump off onto people's front yards. Even with the smaller ditches, I have personally witnessed a young boy hurt his leg by falling in our ditch to avoid a car. At least 3 adults have suffered minor injuries from our ditch, and we have watched way more than a few vehicles require towing after getting stuck in the ditch, and that's just in front of my house. In closing, we respectfully request that the town cease any further trenching and work with residents to develop a proper drainage and safe sidewalk plan to be implemented in the not too distant future. Thank you for your service and for listening to our concerns.
Thank you, Heather. Please make sure that you get contact information to David so we can get in touch with you.
Sure.
Okay. Who else would like to speak?
This is, I'm Cynthia Luce, my husband Edwin. We also live on Grandview Street, been here 36 years. I echo all of what Heather said. You know, she said it great for all of us because, you know, we are very concerned about the safety of all of us that walk on the street. There are no street lights, you know, we don't have that privilege, you know, and so if you're out at dusk and there's 2 cars coming, if you have to step out of the way for your own safety, because they all of a sudden are on top of you, if we have these deep trenches where you're not going to have any place to go. And I really think that putting trenches on both sides of the road, you know, is not necessary, and it's a danger to all of us in the neighborhood. And I really ask that the board respectfully consider another plan and work with us and come up with, you know, an understanding of what we need as residents of the town of Shaftsbury and the village of North Bennington.
I'd like to say something. It would have been nice if somebody, whether the road foreman or the person in charge of the roads, had come around and notified us that they were going to attempt to do this. We, again, as my wife said, we don't have a lot of benefits for living in District 1. We pay our taxes. We seldom see a snowplow until the all the snow has stopped falling. And when we do see a snowplow, they fly up and down the road. We have photos of things like that happening. What I'm trying to say is we live on the other end of town. Why aren't we notified when things are going to happen on our end of the town?
Thank you for listening to us.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy and Ed. Who else would like to talk? Go ahead. You're on mute.
Working on it.
There you go.
My name is Veronica O'Donnell. This is my husband, John O'Donnell. We live at 36 Grandview Street. I wanted to address the fact that the dredging that took place in front of our home has now brought back an issue that we've had in the beginning of our 11 years of being here at this property. We have erosion on our front yard. In an attempt to stop the erosion and beautify the neighborhood, we planted daylilies, which has acted as a natural berm to slow down the water flow and to stop the erosion on our front yard. We have been able to hold on to that and maintain it. And I personally maintain that myself and clean it out every season. And to have that all destroyed in one fell swoop without any notice is not only disturbing, but heart-wrenching for myself. Now, I realize that I did call the town on Thursday and I talked to the town administrator and I did talk to you, Mike. And you did say that you will come back and you will reseed and you will drop mulch. Although that's nice to hear, we have been in this boat before because the other side of our driveway was dredged and nobody came back. And we had to seed it and take care of it and start over again before. I would like some reassurance from somebody that something is going to be done. Now, they painted the top of our water cap from the water department, and it is snapped clean off. The tube that's underneath our driveway that we had paid to get replaced when we moved in is now torn up on the side so that the water flow is now inhibited by that as well. Not to mention the washout that we have received at the end of our driveway that we have continuously filled with SurePack for the past 11 years. We've seen snowplows hook the end of our driveway. We've seen cars slide off the road into our culvert and dig it up even more to try to get out. I understand the whole concept after talking with you, Art, in regards to having to have the roads dredged 2 feet below. Mine is lower than that. And now the mud pit that sits out there is eroding the front of my yard as we speak. Thank you to my neighbor that lives on the corner for coming out and stopping them and saving some of my plants. But that doesn't change the fact that the front of my house is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. And this whole street has turned out that way as well. And I would like to see something done. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. Mike, are you there?
He's on mute.
Yeah, I'm here.
You have the fabric, or will have the fabric?
Yeah, should have it tomorrow. Would be seeded and matted all the way up through, just like
Okay.
we normally do. And that'll stop that erosion that she's having on her bank.
Okay, well, she wanted assurance that somebody was going to
Yeah.
do it. That's why I'm asking.
Yep,
Okay.
I ordered it on Thursday before I talked to you, and it'll be delivered tomorrow.
Okay,
And I already have all the hay and seed, so
okay, sounds good.
waiting on the erosion matting.
Okay,
You can't
I
get
just
that around
wanna-
here.
Art, I just want to comment on their water shut off. Talking with Ted from the water department, they are going up through there and fixing all those broken shutoffs through all the way up Grandview, the North Bennington Water Department. They wanted me to let you guys know. So all
Okay.
the spots that are painted blue, something is wrong with them and they all need to be fixed. So,
okay,
You can't get that matting supply here in town, can you, Mike?
no, I can't. I've tried. I get it from a guy in North Adams and he's the best I can do. It's usually a couple days.
I didn't think it could.
okay.
Excuse me,
Is there
can I
anybody
just
else?
ask, can I ask a clarifying question though? So if you're coming back and you're matting and seeding and putting hay down and mulch down in those trenches, what was the purpose of making Veronica, especially in front of Veronica's house, making it so much deeper and taking out what was so nice and natural for the neighborhood? What was the purpose of doing that? I know you
Well-
said it has to be 2 feet below the yard or the road, but the road, I mean,
Hers was already 2
hers
feet.
would measure it. It's a lot deeper than 2 feet.
Well, I said before, we weren't going to get into a lot of discussion because we really got to find out. Just wanted to find out what your concerns was and everything else. This will all be answered when we come back for another meeting. Okay? But
Question, Art, will they continue to ditch before you have another meeting, or will this be postponed until the next meeting is held?
we will not ditch until after we've had a meeting to explain everything to you, okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to ask Mike, isn't that 2 foot depth, isn't that set by the state regulations?
Yeah, that contract that we signed to meet the state standards at 2 foot minimum is what we are supposed to be following.
That's what I thought it was, Mike. I just wanted to clarify that.
Why was the decision to be made on start on Grandview Street when there are
So,
numerous back roads?
Again, we are not going to, we're not going to debate this right
Okay.
now, okay? This is
Okay.
public comments. It was not a public debate.
My
Please.
apologies.
Because this could go on all night long and we will get back to you. There's a promise. We will get back to you, okay?
And Art, along those lines, I know I don't have any contact for Heather. If the people concerned with this can just email me contacts at administrator@shaftsburyvt.gov. It's in the town report. It's on our website, just so I can get back to you all. It's administrator@shaftsburyvt.gov.
Okay? You're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting because we will be talking about trees and roads and that sort of stuff later on too. So,
I did have one more question, if that's okay.
yes, absolutely. This is your
Um,
time.
I'm just wondering, since there's so many residents here, is there anything we can do as residents to help the town come up with a plan to possibly put in a safe sidewalk and possibly put in a proper drainage system?
I don't know of anything. The first thing we've got to do is that it is a Shaftsbury road, but you have to understand the state has all kinds of strings attached because they give us a lot of money to maintain these roads and that sort of stuff. We've got to check with the state as to see what can be done about, first of all, speed limits, what can be done about filling in the ditches with drainage and putting a sidewalk on it. And then we have to look at the economic impact of it. But the first thing I got to do, or we've got to do, and Mike will verify this, is we've got to talk to the state. They hold a lot of strings. But if there is something, we will certainly get back to you.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Can I just chime in on speed limits?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I live on Hawks Avenue, and I've been concerned for a long time the way the speed limit is ignored, and in particular by the heavy trucks that come up and down. So while you're looking into enforcing speed limits, I would ask that you do that on Hawks Avenue as well.
Okay.
And perhaps even consider some speed bumps, which because our street is used as a cut through.
Okay.
People fly down.
We have done some surveys on speeds on Hawks Avenue, and I think, Dave, you can probably share them with her at another time, okay?
Didn't we post sheriff down there one time for speed control?
Yeah, the sheriff rotates around as I can. Hawks is not a friendly enforcement street because it's a clear view. And as soon as you pull onto it, you can see a trooper car or a sheriff's car there. It makes you slow down pretty quickly.
It used to be that there would be a car often, I think it was a trooper at night, and so it wasn't so visible.
Yeah.
And, in the winter time, night comes early and people are racing down on their way home from work. Anyhow, it would be nice to have some sort of enforcement.
Okay. Yep. Any other comments before we move on?
Art?
Does anybody on the board have a question they want to ask any of these people?
Art, I've got a comment if I don't want to jump in front of anybody else.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, good evening, first of all, and I did want to say welcome to Mike, since this is the first select board meeting that I've been attending. And also to thank you, Art and Dave, for getting the word out about the groundwater reclassification and making sure that the public knew that parts of Shaftsbury were affected by that as well. And I just wanted to add that there appear to be some properties out on Route 67 West heading out to to State Line Road that are in the area as well. So we know that everybody should have gotten a postcard alerting them to this proposal, but perhaps the mail delivery being what it has been lately, not everybody got that card. I've heard that from some folks in the area, and also that it was addressed to current resident, so it might have looked like junk mail, and people might not have paid close attention to it. So I think the best thing to do is, if you're in that area, pay attention to the banner. And there will be another hearing, and the banner will be covering it. Feel free to reach out to me also if you'd like. I'm happy to try and help, and would be available for that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Just as a comment, I was approached by the banner, and I did make a statement that I think they are going to put another small article in there just saying that parts of Shaftsbury were affected also. I haven't seen it, but there wasn't any banner on Monday, so.
Yeah, there was actually the print, or the electronic version of the banner had it today, and I know there's no print edition on Monday anymore, so sometimes people don't. I'm sure a lot of people don't see that, but it was in the banner, and if you're a subscriber and can get online, you can read that article. But they did cover it today, so that was good.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Art, just as a follow-up to that also, because of the banner article, I did receive a couple of questions today regarding that. If anyone does have a question, they can email me. And I've sent the people who questioned today the link to the entire state webpage that covers in great detail everything going on with that. Has maps, you can look up your house, you can look up your area and check on everything.
Yeah, I just want to say again, in no way is this letting Seco Bain off the hook. They are still responsible. It's just it's a classification for when somebody wants to drill a well and that sort of stuff. I think that's the biggest thing. Okay.
Art, may I speak on this topic? I'm Scott McEnany from Town Line Road, and of course, one of the areas that's impacted. I have neighbors that are on other sides of me, well within a couple hundred yards of mine, that have had their PFOA tests done and are above the limit, and therefore get several $1,000 filtration systems in their homes. Luckily for us, and I consider ourselves fortunate that our well is lower than that, and ours has continuously been just under the limit. I'm a little nervous about the limit when I'm putting drinking water into the mouths of myself and my wife and our children, but I have to trust the science there. But when we hear that any groundwater within this zone is going to be classified as non-potable as part of this provision, and it sounds like maybe that will change because of the concerns that have been raised, that's pretty concerning for us, because I'm not able to get the filtration system yet. The ground, and we get our water from the ground, yet there's about to be a designation that's put out there by the state that says our water is potable or is not potable because of the class 4 regulation. I didn't pollute. We didn't pollute. We merely bought land in Shaftsbury, or bought a home in Shaftsbury, and we didn't settle with St. Cobain either. So it feels a little bit like a bait and switch, like they're going to get as much water into as many homes as they possibly can, and then they're going to go and put a blanket regulation down that says it's our water is not potable. And I am left here with a piece of property that when it comes time to sell, I have some explaining to do, and that's always hard when you're trying to sell. We have no interest in selling right now, but you never know. So I would hope that we can ask the board when necessary, if necessary, to provide some muscle for us residents that are not getting the filtration. We're not getting a pretty blue pipe with town water coming into the front of our basement, and are being told that we have that our water is not potable because we're in an area where groundwater is deemed as such. And then lastly, I would say we've got a spring on our land that so far has been, they've refused to test, but our animals, egg laying chickens, meat birds, pork, things that we raise here on our little farm are getting water from that spring. And I don't know what the impact is with, I don't know whether that spring is above the limit, and I don't know what the impact is with the animals that are drinking that water and then we are consuming. So I'm hopeful that if needed, we can lean on the board to help us through this situation.
Thank you. This is way over my head. I think this is more, Dave, if you would please get in contact.
Dave and I have spoken, he's been great, and I've spoken
Okay.
with the state as well, but it sounds like it's going to be taken up by the Bennington Select Board, and I would hope that the Shaftsbury Select Board is following suit and ready to be an advocate if necessary.
Okay, thank you. We'll consider it. Okay. We still on public comments? Anything else? Okay to go on? Okay, next on the agenda. Treasurer's report.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Melanie.
Melanie?
Why don't we start with the cash flow from March? And while you're pulling that up, I just want to add on to something that Art said. Seems like a long time ago now, but about the homestead declaration. It is more work for me, but you should do it for yourself because it's very, very irritating. If you miss that deadline, you have to pay a penalty. There's a lot of extra work that happens to you. So make sure you get your homestead declarations in for your own sake, not just for mine. So this is the April one. Could we look at the
Sorry.
the March one first?
All right.
I've got both of them because there's been a lot going on just in the last few days, but I wanted to just put a bow on March quickly if we could do that first.
Yep.
There we go. A pretty ordinary month. You can see a lot of clerk revenue. I think that's mostly dog licenses coming in. Another fairly significant delinquent tax check from Mert. But if it go down to the bottom of the page. Yeah, so that we can just taking a quick look at our revenues, expenditures versus budget. The same pattern we've been seeing for months is still apparent here. Our revenues are already at more than 100% of budget. That's because I keep bringing this up. We sold some equipment, so we had a sort of a windfall in cash, but we knew that was going to happen, and that's completely normal. Our expenditures are also slightly behind last year. And all of that means that we're in good shape for cash to get us through certainly the end of the fiscal year. I'm starting to feel hopeful we might not even need to take out much of a tax anticipation note this year if things continue this way. I want to take a quick look at the reserve funds. Which is for March, it's not much going on at all. You can see there's just water coming in. And also there was a big water, what was that other thing? I can't remember what it was now. Dave knows probably.
Which line are we on?
We mostly, if you look at the 260, there's water payments, but there was also some something, I think it was a grant from the state that came in.
Yeah, that's the money being paid back to us from the loan for the pre-construction.
Right.
items.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that's the only thing that went on with reserve accounts in March. If we could look at the April cash flow. We had a bunch of money that was due to the general fund from the reserve accounts, and you'll see that there was that big interfund transfer there happened last Friday. That 182,000 was some pretty big checks that you wrote. That you guys signed off on in the last couple of months, and I just wanted to make sure that money got back into the right place. So you can see there's our actual cash balance as of today. is 574,000. That's going to get us pretty handily through the end of the fiscal year. If we could look at the reserve for April, you'll see the other side of that, because that money was all going back into the reserve account. So that the April reserve, yeah. You can see most of that went into equipment. There was a little bit, and some of it was going back into water. I believe there was some cemetery. And so now, right now, the cash for reserve accounts and the general fund are, all the cash is where it should be. Any questions about any of that?
Another good job, Melanie.
Oh, thank you very much.
Does
Thank you.
anybody else on the board have any questions?
No.
No.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you, Melanie.
Okay. Next on the agenda is 911 has a concern over that we have a road that we call Furnace Brook, and then it actually has two branches that go. Furnace Brook runs east and west, and there are two branches that go north and south off that, and we've been calling them Furnace Brook North and Furnace Brook South, along with just plain Furnace Brook. So 911 has a problem with that. So we are here to discuss changing the name of the two branches that go north and south. Is there anybody from that area that wanted to speak about that? We're open for your suggestions.
Hi, Art. This is Melody Niles.
Yes.
Yeah, just kind of wondering when this is going to get done, because we've been living here like 14 years. We can't get delivery to this house. If we can't get, you can't get a package to come here because we have a P.O. box in Shaftsbury because we live in Shaftsbury. And Bennington has a Furnace Brook Road. And apparently some of the neighbors here mailing address is also a Bennington Furnace Brook Road. So it is impossible to get like our lost luggage to our house, a package, an important package to our house. It has been a huge problem. So I'm just like wondering like when this is going to be decided and how you pick this name or.
Well, I'm a little bit confused because I thought Furnace Brook was okay. Is that, are you saying there is a Furnace Brook in Bennington too?
There's a Furnace Brook in Bennington that's less than 6 miles away, and I've had my packages drop down there. So this whole development is a problem. To be called Furnace Brook is, either way, is a problem. It's a big problem.
Were you aware of that, Dave?
Yeah, what we're addressing is E911. I've had this discussion with the post office in Bennington, and just last week they assured me that they were working on a solution to the whole Furnace Brook problem. And discussing with the postmaster in Shaftsbury and Bennington, it all comes down to the root guy. I believe his name is John in the Bennington post office. Yeah. And like, as I said, they've been telling me that they're working on it, and they hope to rectify this soon.
I've been down there actually talking to him for years. I've gone down there. I wrote him a letter. I actually had to have Shaftsbury get me a 911 thing like 2 years ago, and there's still been no correction.
Yeah, we can't control anything with the post office. We've asked on your behalf recently with this, but what we're dealing with. I kind of
feel like both of them need a name change.
Yeah, well, they should be able to change it simply by changing the Furnace Brook in Shaftsbury to the zip code for Shaftsbury. And I believe that's how they're trying to remedy it. But what we're looking at is Furnace Brook can't go in 4 directions. So we're looking at maintaining the east-west segment as Furnace Brook and changing the southern leg to Lucas Lane. And Melody, yours was the only suggestion for the other half, as I believe it was Red Clover Lane.
Right. Anything generic. I
understand anything that makes it stand out from where you are. But on your end, we had one suggestion. On the other end, we had 4 in favor of Lucas Lane. So those are the options for the board today. I have no further. One I heard was north and south Furnace Brook, but then you have Furnace Brook, north, south Furnace Brook, and that's.
Yeah, it shouldn't be Furnace Brook. It shouldn't be Furnace Brook anything because it's really bad up here. Furnace Brook anything up here is really bad.
I don't think we can change Furnace Brook, can we? See, there's a difference between this E911 and the post office, and that's what's confusing me.
Me too, I think, Art.
I think it would be a major thing to change Furnace Brook itself. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, we have to address the immediacy of the E911. We're pretty much under orders from the state to change this. The whole issue of Furnace Brook and sorting it out from the town next door's name, it's frankly a little bewildering to me why that is such a problem for the post office. But they told me they're working on it. We're not getting into changing the whole east-west segment of Furnace Brook. I'm not even know if everybody on the street supports that, but we do know people on the north-south extension support a change, and we know that the state wants that changed. So what's on the table really is Lucas Lane for the southern section, and unless someone has a name, I don't see any objection to Red Clover Lane for the northern section. We can make that recommendation tonight and put it on for a final vote for the next meeting, just to give time for the word to get around to anybody else who wants to come up with a name. But I know it's, like I said, the South is be overwhelmingly in support of Lucas Lane.
And then will it go to, then will you notify like Google and the E911? How does that work, Dave?
Once it goes into E911, it basically rolls over to everyone. I mean, we can't assure that Google is going to update too quickly, but once it's in the E911 system, everything is really based off E911. And that's part of the problem why you're not getting things there. I live in an area that I don't have a post office, but I refuse to use the other town's name, and I always get my packages in mail. So it's just has to be in the 911 properly. I think that'll improve.
So I refuse to use, I refused to use Bennington too, so we were forced to get a PO box like 14 years ago, and I can't make them do anything different, so we stuck with the PO box. But I do need to get packages to my house, and my lost luggage, it was a nightmare trying to get stuff here.
Well, if we can get the Red Clover, that should take care of that problem for you, because there's not a Red Clover in Bennington.
Or Shaftsbury, so that's my hope, something that doesn't have that. All right, thank you.
Okay.
So are board members in favor of just tabling this and putting it out there as this is what we would vote on next meeting? Does that make sense?
I would say yes, sir.
Okay. So there will be no action taken tonight, but we are making the suggestion that there'll be Furnace Brook will run east and west, which it already does, and then Lucas Lane to the south and Red Clover Street or Lane? Lane, Red Clover Lane to the north. And we will vote on this at the next meeting. First of all, we'll take public discussion at that time. And if there's nobody is opposed or has a better suggestion, we'll vote on it at that time. Is that okay?
Yes, with me.
Okay.
That's good.
So, next on the agenda, last meeting, I asked that board members just make a list of some goals that we should put down and strive for. A lot of things we probably can't get within a year's time, but I think that we should be proactive rather than just reactive all the time. And so I'll start because I'm the one that asked for it to be done. As far as coal haul, I'd like to see the removal of the slab where the town garage was, and at least start looking at some designs or plans for what a public area would look like there. And we have to keep looking towards changing the exterior of Cole Hall. It has to be better ADA accessible and that sort of stuff. Dave has been working on some plans, but money is a big thing, but I think that's got to be on our agenda. We've got Cole Hall looking really nice on the inside, and so I think we got to continue to keep improving the outside of it. The main thing is it has to be ADA approval, ADA accessible. I think the parks in our town are jewels, and so I would like that we keep improving and modernizing both Howard Park and Cleveland Avenue. The roads, I think we're on the right track as far as what we've been doing as far as stone ditching, culvert replacement. We're using gravel that seems to be doing a very good job, and we need to continue that. But my next goal, I think, is for tree removal. I think we're going to be talking about that later on, so I won't get into that now. But trees, dead trees falling into the road, trees shading the road are all detrimental to a dirt road. We have to dry out a dirt road to preserve it. It's when it comes to equipment, I'd like to see the Volvo traded for a smaller one. We should consider a man lift or something that will raise workers up to get some of the tree limbs that are above what we can reach with pole saws and so on and so forth. I think that all plow trucks in the future should be bought with a wing on them. They do a fantastic job, less trips. They really get the snow well off the road without endangering the truck to be caught in the ditch. And I think we should still continue to look at a tractor mower for doing the roadside mowing. As far as the government or the workings of the town, I'd like to enter into a discussion as to the necessity of the publicly elected listers. It's all done by a professional company now that we hire. So really a lister is only a data entry person. Do we really need 3 of them? This is all a vote that has to be done by the public, but I think we should start discussing it. And it's become very apparent that we need a public information disclosure policy for when we're doing road work. That came up very clear this evening. So that's my list. Who else would like to comment?
I don't have a list like you do, Art, but I think we ought to have a trail, some kind of a hiking trail, maybe at Howard Park. I'd like to see the Volvo out of here, excavator. Again, for a smaller one, like you say. Mike and I pretty much agree on what size we need. I think we should check into the hours of that tractor backhoe that the town has got on a year, because I don't think that's being used enough to continue keeping it. And I think they could use that and the Volvo to trade them in together to get a lower price for the new excavator. And you'd probably need I don't think you need to buy a new one. I think you'd get a used equipment trailer to move the. It's gonna be. I think it should be a track machine.
Okay. Who's next?
I had one item. When I was on the planning commission about 1.5 years ago, we got a visit from Kat Byers with the Bennington Regional Planning Commission. And she had at that time asked that Shaftsbury sign on to an initiative they had to review bylaws and just make sure there wasn't any kind of contradictory language or out of date language. It was just an effort by them to kind of look through and just make sure there was just to kind of streamline the language in the bylaws. And, they would have kind of professional paid hours to do that. It's kind of difficult for the planning commission to do those kind of things. And then when we do those kind of things, we often find out that we didn't do exactly what the BCRC wanted. So this is an opportunity to kind of get that done by them. Just make sure everything is streamlined and everyone's kind of singing from the same sheet of music when someone wants to build something in town. So so anyway, that kind of went. I never heard anything back from that. We took a motion on the planning commission to participate in that. And then the pandemic hit. And so I actually placed a call today to her, left a message to see where that stood. But anyway, I'd like to follow up and kind of see that through, make sure that happens. And, you know, it could be some low hanging fruit. It could be an easy way to just make sure everything is, we constantly find kind of language that contradicts language in another paragraph. And it was just an opportunity to clean that up. So I'd like to pursue that.
You weren't on the board last year, but we started that. Dave has been going through and just like you said, some of them are outdated that have absolutely no relevance now. Some of them don't do contradict, and we've already kind of started that. I don't know as we need anybody to do it, or unless Dave thinks he wants another set of eyes. That's up to you, Dave, but we'll certainly put it down, okay?
Okay.
Tony or Joe, any comments?
I'm still thinking about an amphitheater for Howard Park.
Okay, that was all part. And in fact, there's further on, we're going to be talking about Howard Park, so, or the rec thing. So maybe that's a question that could be put on there. Okay.
Yeah, have some live entertainment.
Yep.
Bring people to the park.
Yeah, they are jewels.
The only thing I want to add is I think I love the idea of the Zoom meetings. And I think some way we need to, when we go back to normalcy, whenever that is, that we continue the Zoom option for people so that we can get more people involved in select meetings. Instead of attending, they can also Zoom in, because I know there are a number of people out there who cannot attend physically, but would love to attend at least virtually.
That's possible, I think, isn't it, Dave? I think probably we can put up a screen or something.
Yeah, we've started to look into that because I agree with Tony. I think this does provide a lot of opportunity, especially on those nasty weather nights, to have people able to stay home safely and still comment on things.
Okay. So you're recording this, so you've got a list of what people have said and that sort of stuff?
Yep.
Okay, very good then. Anybody else? Any other comments before we go on? Thank you, gentlemen. We've got work to do. Okay.
We have
yeah, the liaison list. Last meeting, we briefly talked about the fact that each select board member has a responsibility to different departments, fire department, schools, so on and so forth. And we call it the liaison list. We put it out there, gave everybody a chance to look at it, and I
one
guess
change on this. I noticed I uploaded the wrong one. Water
Yeah.
department will be over here for art.
Yep, I was just gonna say, okay. Other than that, I don't think there were many changes, so. If everybody is agreeable with this, I guess I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the list as it's been modified with I'm responsible for the water department. Okay,
So moved.
that's a move by Ken,
Second.
second by Joe, was it?
Yeah.
Any discussion, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? So carried. Okay, Department of Public Works report. Mike, are you going to take care of that?
Yes. One thing quick about the liaison. Are you still the road liaison? Or
Yes.
change? All right, because I was trying to read that quick and I didn't see it on there. Just to touch base on Grandview Street quick. Last fall, I had a complaint from a guy that lives about midway up on the left-hand side about how the water runs all the way down his driveway. And he showed me a video of it and everything. And that's what kind of stemmed ditching Grandview Street was last fall. It was at the end of the season before we started snow plowing, and then walking the road with him. It was kind of like, wow, these ditches are plugged all the way up through here. I mean, I didn't just do it to do it. And it needed to be done. And this time of the year, the dirt roads are just way too soft to be out there with that machine, trucks, ditching. You know, I mean, we're starting to grade and pick the roads that we can grade, but I understand we have a lot of back roads to be ditching, but we also have a lot of paved roads that have been neglected because we spend a lot of time on the dirt roads. But that's the only reason that we started there. It was just a good time of the year to do that. And going up and knocking on everybody's door to let them know about ditching, cleaning the ditches up through there is, I don't know how that would work. But
Well, we can come up with a plan, Mike.
yeah, I just wanted to touch base on it.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
We'll skip the tree work for a second because Dave said that you got a bunch to talk about with that too, but we'll get the Volvo. The Volvo right now, I've spoke with Nortrax, Volvo, the company that sold us that Volvo, Kubota, and Caterpillar. I left a message. I haven't received a response back. I've talked with all the salesmen about kind of what we have to do, but I need a trade appraisal to know what that machine is worth before we can decide anyways. I should have one from Nortrax, Kubota, and Volvo by the end of this week. That'll let me know what the Volvo is worth and where we can go, and do we have to buy used? Is there enough there to buy the smaller, a newer machine? And talking with these salesmen, I think that's going to bring in more money than I thought it was worth. But I don't have a number to throw out, but looking online at similar machines, same size with 10,000 hours on it, they're bringing in big money. And ours has only got 3,250 hours on it as of today. So that's about all I have for the Volvo. I have some sizes picked out from John Deere, Volvo, Kubota, Caterpillar, Yanmar. It's just, we kind of got to see what it's worth. And we might even be able to buy a trailer as well with the equity from that machine. That's what I'm kind of hoping on. So we'll go from there, but that's all I have right now for that.
Okay.
I got a card here from a guy for Yanmar over in Concord, New Hampshire. I'll get the card to you.
All right.
He was supposed to see you last winter.
Yeah, I remember you talking about him. Yeah.
I'll give you the card in the morning.
All right, swing by.
Yeah, what time you get there? 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I get here a little earlier, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on the Volvo? I mean, I could go on about that. We know it's too big. We know that it takes up most of the road, and it's just some of the reason that the ditches get excavated too big is because that thing was purchased with a 5-foot digging bucket, and that's just, it's too big. It's too big for what we need, but
okay.
I'm gonna leave it there for now. When I get some numbers and the trade appraisals, I'll be able to let you guys know, and we can figure out where to go from there.
Okay.
The grant and aid project is we get that from the BCRC, right, Dave? Is that right? I don't know if I said that right or not, but
Yeah, BCRC.
BCRC, yeah. That is grant and aids. We did a similar project on Cross Hill back in the fall of 2019.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
I proposed to the grant and aid guy that met me out there a section on West Mountain that is hydrologically connected. It's in the orchard, Ludwig's orchard, and that needs ditching both sides of the road, check dams, 3 stone pillows, and possibly some under drain up the center of the road, depending on funding. Speaking with Dave, we talked about putting it out to bid. And I think that's the way I'd want to do it, if that's all right.
Okay. On trees, you probably have seen Davy green trucks out there trimming up for the power line, but Dave also told me that there has been a contract awarded by the state of Vermont to a tree company to take care of all the ash trees that are within the right of way or within the area of power lines. Is that right, Dave? And that'll
Yeah,
happen over the next few years?
Yeah, this is state money that went directly to Green Mountain Power to contract out people, and they will take care of all ash trees that are going to imperil the power lines. So that takes care of 70 miles of our 70 miles of our right of way, the 140 for the both sides. So it's a significant help to us in addressing ashes. You know, it's not going to be as quick as some people would like to see, but they have 11,000 miles of lines, but they are keeping an eye on it. Our town just dropped in with one finding last year of the presence of the ash borer, where most of the work has been up north, where it's much larger infestations right now. But it is on their agenda. They are watching it.
Our tree warden has informed us it's urgent that we start taking all the ash trees down within the right of way. Okay. And I think probably, I think we should be addressing dead trees also within our right of way before they start coming down in some of these windstorms and that sort of stuff.
I agree with you totally.
Anything else before on Public Works? Any questions for Mike or anybody?
Mike, how many hours do we get a year on that tractor backhoe?
I'd have to get back to you on that one. I know.
500?
Yeah, I would say around there, because we service it once a year, so it's either 250 or 500. So I'm not sure exactly. I have to go look.
Well, if you get a salesman in there, can you ask them what we would get for a trade-in with that and the Volvo toward a new machine?
I don't think we're going to need to do that. I really don't.
Well, I don't think for $500 a year we can keep it.
That machine does come in handy, that backhoe. I do not want to see trading that with the Volvo. No, that backhoe does, we do utilize that a lot. We put a set of forks on it and it's good. I wouldn't want to see that go away. Not right.
I'm afraid I disagree with you.
That's fine. I'm just saying. We do use it quite a bit, actually.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Next on the agenda is proposed Cleveland Avenue Park sign. You have a copy of that, Dave?
Yeah, I'll have it up in a second here. So here's Walt Disney with our new sign.
I love Walt Disney.
He's there for scale.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit smaller than the one we have at Howard Park, but you can see here, without the quotation marks, this is what it will say. These are the words that are on the current sign in the park. Thanks to North Shaft Lions, Boy Scout Troop 331, Ed Colvin, and the town of Shaftsbury. That's what's on the current sign, so we wanted to include that on here. And the vote of the board was to have it the Cleveland Avenue Park. So it'll look, it actually came out pretty nice. I think we're trying to look at this style that came out very well when we did this at Howard Park, is the style we'll use for town buildings and the parks. Because I'm looking into having a similar sign design for the DPW and the transfer station, because it's time we mark that out. And with Cole Hall, eventually, we would be nice to have a sign at the town hall, but the front needs to be changed quite a bit before we get to that part.
Okay. My comment is that North Shaft is not spelled with a hyphen. And
Okay.
technically, it's all one word without a capital S. That's the way our charter is.
Okay.
Some people would like to have the capital S, but technically our charter was written without the capital S. So all one word without a hyphen.
Okay, we'll just change that then. All right.
Anybody else have any? You said the quotation marks would not be in it?
Yeah, that's I sent it to the guy with, I want these exact words, and he left the quotation marks in, so
Okay.
they can come out.
Anybody else have any comments or anything?
No, that's good.
Do you need a vote on this or just a
No, we just want to make
consensus?
sure the board was approved it.
Consensus, okay?
Yep, as long as
All
no
right.
one objects.
I
Okay,
don't see, nobody objects, I don't think
No.
so. All right.
let's see. We did have another thing on here for we have a survey that the
Yes.
rec board wants to put out.
Yep.
I'm trying to get this up on the screen. There's too many steps in sharing screen here. Okay. So these are the questions. I sent these around. We're going to do this by a combination of SurveyMonkey and making paper copies available to those who would like it. We can't mail this to everybody in town. It would cost way too much money. But it does ask Joe along your lines, like what offerings would people like to see in the park? You know, to make it more welcoming and to bring people in. There's a number of questions here about speakers, potluck picnics, wildlife programs, garden center, sculptures, murals, and I think on this page, a musician interested in conducting outside performances. The rec committee put this together just to see what people's thinking is on what we want in the parks.
Joe, did you want to add one about an amphitheater or a enclosed area?
Yeah, man, I really think it would be nice to have a place or maybe a, kind of a semi-stage, something for people to set up on and get some bands in here, bring some culture into the town. I think it'd be very entertaining and it'd give some of the local musicians a platform to perform and be seen and heard.
Okay, I can craft some language in there to add that in.
Tony or Mike or Ken, any comments?
I agree.
It's good to
Yeah,
me.
at the theater.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Okay. Then that would be it for the parks.
Dave, is it on the website? Can somebody get to it through the web? How do they get to it?
Yeah, it'll go on our website too. When we'll have a link to the SurveyMonkey, and we'll get the word out. As long as the board's good with it, is another consensus issue. As long as the board approves, and I'll add on something for a stage, a production area, which would be good. And there's plenty of room in Howard Park to do that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. It probably would draw people in there. So that could be good.
Yeah, or we could have, a chicken barbecue, something like that, have a Shaftsbury hoedown.
Yeah.
I had that.
Dave,
Yeah.
I mentioned in the park. Remember that curb I mentioned to you down there on the sidewalk?
I'm sorry, that kind of broke up. What?
The curb on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
That ever get fixed?
Well, not fixed yet, but we're getting estimates on getting it fixed. Mike, can you bring them up to date on that?
Yeah, I had two local concrete contractors look at it and I should have an estimate any day now. We measured it up and it needs to be taken out and replaced, but it's It would be jackhammered down to the asphalt, reformed and poured. It's like 150 feet worth, and the concrete just deteriorated. It's odd.
Poured it too stiff, I think, when they poured it.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It very well could have been.
Then when you put the salt to it, that takes care of it.
Yeah, it's weird how it just crumbled.
Yeah.
For those of you who might not be fully aware of what's going on, the curb line all in front of Cleveland Park is crumbling apart. It's becoming kind of a hazard. So Mike's trying to get some estimates. The last estimate we got for a sidewalk was $200 a square yard. So we'll see what this comes up to be.
I don't think this will be too bad.
Hopefully not too bad. Concrete's
Not like
expensive
that.
these days. Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, to move on. Emergency management, that sounds like something Dave is in charge of.
Yeah. Let me bring this one up here. These are just basically updates. These are annual forms that are required for the state for emergency management. Paul Dansenroe, as you know, is the emergency management director. I'm the emergency management coordinator. So we update these plans every year so that if need be, there's a clear command and control area so that we can all work through any emergency that comes up. All right, this is the form that I'll be asking you to sign later on. And Paul will sign this too as the director. Let me bring up the fuller one. Sorry. I like it when I have two screens. It's easier to move around these things. And just to give you an idea, this is the actual plan, and it just lists out who's responsible for everything and who can activate the EOC, what each role is, and many of you have jobs on here, from public information, the health officer, Melanie with logistics, because for financial, having been in a number of these situations, you tend to spend money quickly, so you need everything in place so that you can do so. We have alternate locations for an emergency operations center, call hall being primary and the firehouse being secondary. We have a spending limit just off the bat for 15, which would go pretty quickly. I've never known an emergency to stay that low. And then there's just other list off who's in charge of what things, who we can go to, what state support staffs are there. And it continues on to we've done an outline of everything that's available to us in the town, what's available locally, and just how we go about things, important channels, vulnerable populations, and it goes on like that. So we'll ask the board to adopt this, and then Art will sign for the adoption. And this went around to everybody a couple of days ago. We list shelters, alternate shelters, phone numbers, contact numbers for everybody, a whole list of contacts actually.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I think we really got to vote on this. This has to be a vote of the whole select board.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So I guess I entertain a motion to accept it as published to us or given to us.
So move.
Okay, that's by Ken.
Second.
Second by Tony. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So carried. And Dave, thanks a lot. I know it's a lot of work, but done an
Well, thank
excellent
Paul
job.
also, and I'll say for Paul Dansenroe, who became our emergency management director, and we went immediately into COVID. So he's done a great job throughout the year, keeping informed, staying on top of things. It's usually in a town this size, not a very active position. It's been extremely active when you walk in the start of a pandemic. He's really attended a lot of meetings, kept up on a lot of things. So
Good enough.
thanks to
Well,
Paul.
Our thanks to Paul and you, Dave, okay?
Dave,
Yes.
this plan is kept in your office?
Yes. Well, it's Paul has it. I have it. And we have it on the computer. Joe's aware of it. The state has it. In an actual declared emergency, no matter what, it could be pulled out from the state, from us, anywhere.
I'm thinking keep it in your office, above water level.
Yeah,
I'm
as silly
serious.
as that sounds, I worked in a town that our municipal building was destroyed from the ground level down, and
Yeah.
had decided to put the emergency operations center below grade, so it was the first room to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the second floor. If it hits me, we're in trouble. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just, in
Yeah.
case.
yeah, part of the thing that even when we switched to Comcast, they gave us a free communications link for the second floor so that we can
Good.
stay up on
Good.
things.
Okay, moving on, we have Sullivan and Powers is who auditors our books every year, and so our contract is up for renewal. Any changes, Dave?
No, it's the exact same contract. It's going up about $400 for fiscal 21, goes up $300 for fiscal 22, and $600 for fiscal 23. They've now been doing this for 6 years with us. I just have always thought it's the cheapest way to have control over what's going on in the town. Bring in a group of outside professional auditors and let them go through all the books.
Every year they fine tune us, just make us that much more
Yeah.
legal, or whatever the word is.
Well, yeah, it's just I have no problem listening to a professional CPA going through and saying, hey, why don't we put this over here? And it also just gives, it's about as open as we can possibly be to have an outside group come in and go through and write reports every year that say things are exactly what they are. With the financial report, you can go through and see exactly where everything was spent, what the balances are and everything, and where we are. So I think it sounds like a lot of 16,800 for fiscal 21, but to keep an eye on a 2.1, nearly $2.2 million budget, it's really money well invested, I think.
Okay. So we need a motion to enter into another year's is this a 3-year contract or a
3-year
single year?
contract, yes, 3-year
Pardon?
contract.
Okay.
moved.
We have a motion by Mike, or by Ken. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Tony to enter into a 3-year contract with Sullivan and Powers to audit the books on an annual basis. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Okay, thank you.
Other business. Anybody else have any? This is where Dave usually gives us
No,
something.
I don't have anything else tonight.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Dave, how do you want to do the signing of the minutes and these contracts?
The warrants are on the table for you, on the meeting room table. You can just sign them whenever you're around the building.
Okay,
I'll have the emergency operations plan for you in a couple of days. I
okay,
only got that yesterday, so.
so tomorrow would be just the warrants then?
Yep, and they're right on the table in the meeting room.
Okay, got it. So, action items. Obviously, the very thing is that we've got to decipher what the residents of Grandview Street are asking of us, and start working on what is possible and what isn't possible and so on and so forth. How do we want to handle that? You want Mike and I just, and you to start working on it and then come back to the board? Maybe
I think
even
the three of us could do that. I've already been contacted by one of the residents with their contact information. When I get the rest, we can just start a conversation and go over what the possibilities are.
and then get back to the board, maybe even with just
Yeah.
a special meeting.
Yeah, or we could just add it as part of a regular public meeting. Because we'll start addressing everybody who has concerns on the street.
I would like to at least get back to them with something that, so that they don't think that we're completely forgetting about them, that sort of stuff. We promised that we would, but we don't have all the answers, obviously. That's quite a list, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hope to get and when I can communicate with them directly, I hope to get a better sense of what each one is, what their goals are with it. And just to clarify, Mike can go ahead with the matting, seating, haying.
Yes.
Just don't ditch anymore on the street.
Sounds good.
As long as we're all on the same page with that.
You got it all done anyway, don't you, Mike?
What's that?
It's pretty well all done anyway, isn't it?
One side is. The left side or the right.
Right side going up.
Yeah.
That was my decision not to finish it. I just didn't think we should stir up just cause any more irritation than what we already had. So we'll get it finished in proper order.
You're not gonna need grass to grow for another month anyway.
Well, but we are going to go ahead. This is what I want to be clear about. He can put down the mats and hay and seed because otherwise we're going to have a mud hole.
Sure.
There.
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
They have to.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
It has to be done.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Other action items, what else did we talk about? Anything else?
We're going to change the wording on the sign.
Yeah.
And I'm going to write in some kind of shell type of thing or performance center for Howard Park on the questionnaire.
Okay, building a power. And we've got to make sure that we bring up at our next meeting, road change names.
Yeah, road, yep.
That's got to be put on the agenda.
The final vote for that.
Dave, do you, I know I've seen the banner sometimes, the Bennington or the town of Bennington. They put a list of what the road crew is going to be doing all week in the banner every week. Could we do that? To maybe forego something like having down there?
Well, I think, it's somewhat of a good idea if you're working with some types of roads. I think we wind up a lot of times having to address things as the weather permits. I don't know, Mike, you can jump in on this. Maybe during the summer, you can look at making a plan, like when we do the grants and aid, or we know we're putting in culverts across the street, we've gone out of our way notifying people of things like that. But this ordinarily would have been ditching, and we don't normally go around telling people we're ditching, because that would require, at 70 miles, that would require a lot of notifications nonstop.
Well, I'm not saying notify everybody. I'm just saying like put it in the banner, and if they see it, they see it.
I mean, for projects like what Weaver's going to be doing in the Hollow come the end of June, the Grand Nade and stuff, road closures, we always post, right, Dave? That's part of, I mean,
It's just a suggestion. I mean, then people can't say they weren't warned.
Well, and even if we had posted this, that we were going to ditch on Grandview, I don't think it would have
ever happened.
I don't think it would have alleviated what the people were concerned with, because I think we would have done it. And the effect is what we're having the complaint about, not the idea of doing it. So
yeah.
Well, I was going to say I went Saturday morning to look at the ditching because I heard that it was really bad. But when I got there, the ditching actually looked very, neat and clean, and it looked well done.
Thank you.
As far as when things went, as far as how far it went into people's property, I don't know that. But what I saw looked good. I think the ditch is probably wider than what it used to be, though. Is that some of the complaint, or?
It's not any wider. He followed there was actually an old pavement swale buried underneath everything, and Ron just kind of followed what was there.
I was gonna ask you, I thought that was a paved ditch.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if anybody walked in there when
Well,
onto that.
just because we closed comments on this, maybe
Yes.
if we're going to debate this at another time, we should debate.
I
it
just
another
got
time.
one. I want to go back to Kenny's thing about the banner.
Yeah.
The town of Bennington, they put in so much. Like, I read that they got Casella POFA water lines, they got lead line replacement, they got road closed. I mean, they really should post all that. They got quite a bit. I mean, just us posting, we're going to be ditching Murphy Hill. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, just a thought, Mike. I'm not.
Well,
sometimes yes, but not all the time.
I think what Ken's trying to get at is if we concentrated on the affected area that where construction was going to be done, we've got a land map. We can look up, see who the houses are. We don't even have to know their names. Just send mailings to those residents that live in that area that are about to be affected, probably a week in advance, to let them know that, hey, this is coming. We need to get this work done.
The problem is it rains and we don't show up, and then we have another week. And with every construction project that really disrupts road travel is notified. I mean, we ditch miles of road a year.
Well, you can include that with the mailer that, depending on weather.
Of who's going to give the postage stamps.
Yeah, I think, again, Dave had a good point. We said we were not going to debate this, and I don't think we should.
Okay.
I agree.
It will be discussed. We aren't throwing it underneath the rug, but this is not the time to do it because we said we would not do it, okay?
Yeah, I didn't want to debate it. I just wanted to come up with a solution.
Well, okay. Okay, so we got some action items. Is there anything else for action items?
No.
Okay. I would entertain a motion that we enter into executive session for personnel and a possible contract. There's a contractors written down, but also I know a personnel issue. So
second.
It's a move by Ken, second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
We'll ask everyone to log off except for the select board. And Cat TV, there will not be a vote at the end of the executive session.
We'll just vote to adjourn. It's all after executive session.
Yes.